everybody, as we step into our second part of tonight for Proclaimers of Heroes. We're diving back into our adventure where our Mousaei have now found two potential heroes. Demetrius, the local soldier, who's a little bit of full of himself, but has experience serving in the military and being a warrior amongst both the Athenian army, helping to potentially liberate the town from the Boeotians. On the other side, they have Talia, a young local huntress who has decided it would be better to live her life away from the town along with her family, but is currently looking for a way to find her missing brother, who is serving as a mercenary for the Boeotians, who have been driven out of the region by the Athenian army, and is hoping to use this opportunity to help her get word to him or help find him and bring him back home. We rejoin our three Mousaei on the mountainside as they currently hunt for signs of the Pegasus that should lead them to the lost tomb. So we rejoin you all on the mountainside. You recently, Phoebe, just discovered a little bit more about the characters' backstories. We kind of have a mashup of you wandering through the mountainside several times. Talia helps lead you away from dangerous animals and the marks of other critters you'd have to deal with, including wolves. Demetrius, on the other hand, is regaling you with stories of his time in the military. Some of those funny, like, you had to be there stories that you're kind of like, I don't know how funny that really is. Like a couple of them are just, the context is lost on those of you who are adventuring, and Antigone kind of putting herself right at the front and basically being like, let's get this done.
Every once in a while, Antigone will like chime in on one of his stories, be like, "I don't think that's how that works." Or is like, "Oh, is that how the Athenian army does this?"
Yeah, and call
him on his shit.
A couple of times he's like, "Well, yes, I guess it's a little bit different amongst the Spartans."
Phoebe, the whole time
they didn't let women serve.
Oh, Phoebe, the whole time is just giant-eyed and like, interesting. And other than that, only like saying anything to prompt Talia.
Okay, so it's still like, kind of drilling Talia. And then at one point where you're going to turn it at, and how do you feel about that, Talia? You see her go, are we supposed to be looking for she's like, aren't you supposed to be looking for Pegasuses?
Oh, is that what you're doing? I mean, we're Mousaei, so like we just follow the heroes around. The heroes do the heroing.
Well, if that's the case, then that's probably them up there. And she points up, and you can see that there are indeed two figures, equine in build, but with large wings, sort of just their silhouettes in the distance. You can see spiraling down into what looks to be a small cleft in the mountain that leads into a valley.
Okay, well, you two are supposed to find the sword. Antigone, do you have any other instructions for him?
Don't die.
Well, are you?
Or if you do, at least do it great.
Are you coming in with us?
I mean, like, we'll hang out, but the thing about Mousaei is, unlike other... Oh god, what the name is... Sorry, have a moment. The thing about the Mousaei is, we make heroes better. We're not the ones in the story. You have to do
Have you ever seen Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom? It's like when everyone else hangs out in, the front of the cave, and and Indiana Jones goes in because he's the hero, and like Phoebe's just explaining the whole plot in intricate detail.
When you say Indiana Jones, you say it in English. So for those who are speaking Greek, they're like, the what? Like, they look very confused.
No, she gets like this sometimes.
Because it's basically every time you say like the proper name of a person or place, you're like Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom. That's in English, and then whenever you're describing the plot, it's back to Greek, and they're just like, I'm so confused right now.
If you think you're confused about that, wait until you hear about Moulin Rouge. Which is French to English to Greek.
Yeah, French to English. And they're like, what? The what? And as you're saying that, you have walked down into the valley now, sort of as their confusion, and he's like, wait, so she was a hooker?
Apparently.
I mean, I've known a lot of very polite prostitutes in my time.
I mean, Christos.
That is fair.
Does he count as polite?
No.
I mean, does he do that while also still being a Mousaei? Is that a conflict?
Not really. Especially not for him. He's comedy.
And sometimes heroes need extra exercise.
And like Talia at that point just goes, "Is that the tomb? Is this the tomb that we're looking for?" And she points, and sure enough, there is a like large stone mausoleum set sort of back in the back of this valley. There's a small pond out in front of it, and you can see that there is a man like mounted on the back of a horse, full armor, sort of doing the heroic, like looking off into the distance. And you can see that there is the section where the tomb would normally be sealed. The stone is smashed in half and cracked open outward, and it's sort of laying down around the statue, and there's just this open hole into the tomb itself.
That's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, maybe he'll decide which hero is better. You know, by killing one of them.
I mean, it's a statue of a man on horseback. It's not.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, the statue could always come alive, Phoebe. That's always an option.
Missed that small detail.
We've got even bigger problems if that happens.
Yeah, 100%. Phoebe is just like, oh, well, it's probably going to come alive. You know, yeah. Maybe it'll come alive.
Does that happen to you?
You two go first.
Demetrius, like, does that happen to you often?
Once.
It's a possibility.
He kind of rolls his shoulders and brings his shield up and gets behind it and lowers his spear and he crouches more closely. And Talia's just like, ugh, whatever. And just like bolts past him to go into it. And she looks down and she gives this almost sigh of disgust. And she's like, is this the sword? And like leans down and picks up a sword and like holds it out towards you. And sure enough, it is a like short Xephos Greek short sword, but it's kind of elaborate pommel to it. And she goes, it was just lying in here in this giant pile of feathers. And she's like, are those eggs? And then in the distance, behind you, you hear the snap, crack, rustle of a bunch of vegetation as though something is coming smashing through the trees. And you hear a loud,
Fuck me sideways. And Antigone's gonna pull up her skirt, and just say, bet we weren't expecting this, and pull out a sword.
And then as you are saying that, you hear this hissing sound, and this gigantic goose comes smashing through the bushes. Its neck spread down so that it's just kind of like hissing at you, and it starts to fluff up its feathers. And this is about the size of a horse. Yeah, a little bit big, like a Clydesdale, like one of those big draft horses. So like, definitely way beyond a goose size. As it comes like stomping into the yard and sort of hisses at you, Demetrius looks back at it with this look of complete like, what is that? And as he's doing so, you see Talia kind of smirk to herself. And then she's like, well, good luck with that, and starts bolting off into the woods.
Does she have the sword?
She has the sword.
No, she doesn't, because I'm going to spend a plot point and do suffer as I suffer.
Okay.
Like paralytic insanity, so she can't move.
Oh, so you're going to spend the plot point and you're going to hit it. So she just goes to bolt, and as you do that, you hit her with this insanity, and she's, what? And starts like smacking at herself, and the sword kind of clangs to the ground, and she's like, no, get off! And she's overcome with this, like, basically these paranoid visions as though she's being attacked.
As you do, you just see Antigone pointing and go, you're bombarded by a cacophony of demonic voices going, you're not good enough.
As you say that, and she does start to like freak out, like something like, just leave me alone. Demetrius is like, are you going to do something about this? And then you see the goose come charging right at Demetrius across
Get the sword, Demetrius, get the sword.
And he is going to roll to try to dive and get the sword before he gets attacked by V.
Can I
Y'all are welcome.
There's nothing I can do to help him.
How long does that last, Antigone?
One round, so if he doesn't get it now, she gets to go away, and I'm out of plot points.
Oh, that's right. It's a beat, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, so like if he doesn't get it now, she gets to try to run away.
Okay, well that's not so bad. He got it pretty decent. He started the contest against the goose, and he started with a 13. So it's going to get the goose is going to get to roll in response to that.
I love it when Evan rolls against himself.
It's a mechanic I made into this game, and now I don't know why I did it. Also gets a 13. So Demetrius is not going to give in. He is going to still try to defeat this goose.
Does anyone have a hero dice they can give him? I'm out of points, so I can't do it.
I'm out of points too.
You just
If I was
use
there, I
a
could.
heroic die to give it to him. You don't.
Yeah, the heroic die, giving it to her dice to the hero doesn't cost you anything. You just lose the dice.
He can have a D8 on that first roll.
Okay. Well, it's just that's happened
late
now. Yeah. Well, he has an extra
Sorry.
D8 on this roll then.
Is that
Well,
Christos lights up his second cigarette and enjoys a slice of pizza.
Which that second D8 definitely helped him out because he just rolled a. He rolled a 13.
What is the difficulty?
I think 13 was what he needed.
13 is what he is going to spend a one of his plot points to push himself over so that he can add the 2 to it, so he gets a 15. So he beats the contest. He dives, and at the last minute, you give him that like burst of inspiration as you call out to him, and they're like, "Don't mess this up. If she gets out of that, she'll be back for the sword." He rolls in the dirt, dropping his spear, picks up the sword, and when he comes back up just in time, the goose's head slams into the shield, and you see him kind of get picked up, and he gets pushed back like 5 feet before he slams back onto his feet. Shield in hand, sword now drawn, facing off against the goose as it.
Nico is going to, because I'm assuming the paranoia is going to walk off in a second, or work off in a.
Yeah, he basically gets the sword. This happens, and she can move now.
So Nico is running over. So did she fall over when she got hit with the paranoia, or is she?
No, she's just standing there like screaming at something. Like she's acting like there's things like she's surrounded by stuff.
She's being
and she's freaked
bombarded
out.
by a cacophony of demonic voices telling
voices.
her that she's not good enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so Nico is going to walk up to her point blank range, pull out his bow, pull out his Cupid's arrow, and go, Talia, all you need is love, and just shoot her with the Cupid's arrow.
You walk up, pull the arrow back, spend a plot point.
Oh, do I have to spend a plot point? It's one of my resources.
Oh no, you can just use this resource then.
Yeah.
And that's the instance you're gonna have to roll for me.
Okay.
Because she's gonna have to try to resist it.
So, question. Because it's an arrow that causes love, can I use logos instead of athleticism?
Yeah, I could say that's fine.
Okay, so I'm doing...
She's currently frozen in place, so it's not the most athletic thing you've ever had to do to shoot her.
So I'm doing logos, child of light and song. Actually, no. I'm gonna say it's what the heart wants because it's.
I'm gonna hinder your distinction.
Okay, what does that mean?
You roll a D4 instead of a D8 because she does not want it.
Okay,
But then you get a plot point.
I get a plot
You
point.
get a plot point. Yeah.
Okay. I'm using my bow, so it's archery. I'm gonna say, ooh. I'm gonna say this is Arit.
Mhm.
And then I'm using my arrow.
Just
Okay.
from the distance while this is happening, you hear it and you go, "Why aren't you shooting the goose?"
So wait, what do I need to roll? Or is it mime rolling and you have a number?
I have a number which is 14, and you have to beat my 14.
Shit. She did not consent to this.
She did not. She also has her own stats as a revealed villain.
Also, like, we 100% asked for this as, like, a game of art inspiration-based Mousaei.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna burn that plot point I just got for the hinder to add another dice. and it is going to be a 20.
Well, a 20 certainly beats my 14, and is a heroic success. That means you can get a D8 from this pool and add it to your heroic dice.
Do I get to decide who she falls in love with?
Yes, with the arrow the way you have it designed.
So I'm going to quickly grab her head and turn it towards Demetrius.
Okay. So
she is falling in love with Demetrius.
That inflicts. What's your effect dice?
Is that the biggest of the ones that are left over?
Yeah, the biggest die size of the one that you have left over in your pool of dice.
A D6.
A D6. She is going to have a D6 of what makes the most sense of what we have.
Would it be like
infirmity
woe?
or paranoia?
Woe for heartbreak if she feels like she can't have him?
You know what? It is going to be woe, because she's feeling really bad about the shit that she's done now, because she's like, but I love him, but I've also set him up for disaster. It's very Meg with Hercules.
That's right.
Where she's like, but I love him now, and I've done horrible things. What have I done? She feels bad for her life of crime. And she's like, no, we have to get out of here. And as she screams, like, no, the goose gives a loud, like, wah, and goes diving down, hits Demetrius, so that Demetrius is, like, stuck partially on its back, and grabs her in its bill and flies off towards town.
I just want to point out, I said, get them together, and then, like, collectively, they're a hero. And it happened.
We write the story.
So as you're watching,
I'm telling you, you
can see that he's now like trying to climb up the goose that's now in the air as they're flying away from you, and she's sort of clutched in its mouth. Like you can see she's crying from the distance, like, no, this isn't how I wanted it to be.
Oh wait, so they're both on the goose?
Oh yeah, the goose grabbed her in its mouth, and then
I thought it was just her.
No, he's like climbing up onto the goose, trying not to get left behind with the sword, like stabbed into the goose, like trying to climb up.
So Antigone just got a sword out and just watching the go and goes, I hope they don't kill it midair, then they're gonna fall.
That didn't quite work out how I was hoping it would work out.
Phoebe's still just like scribbling notes, like, yeah, not how I expected.
Nico, can I ask one question? Not that I'm questioning your methods, because like she could always live love in her life. Everyone could. Why didn't you make the goose fall in love?
I wasn't sure a giant magic goose would fall in love very easily.
That's fair. We should probably get back to town. Christos and Theodora are there.
And like snap cut to Christos and Theodora, like in town, just sort of doing their thing. Theodora's like frustrated now and is like off reading somewhere, like, fuck those goddamn assholes who didn't want to let me. And nearby, you're enjoying a lovely, Christos, you're enjoying a lovely drink.
Can I just say that if Theodora like hears this like honking goose thing come, she would just look up, watch everyone screaming and running around, and be like, "I guess not my problem now."
As you indeed in the distance here, and you turn up to see there's this large, brilliant white goose, and for a second you're like, oh, it's just a goose, and then you realize that it's getting closer and closer and bigger, and you see this horse-sized goose just come slamming down into the middle of the town square. As it does, you can see that in its mouth is clutched Talia, and that Demetrius is sort of like holding onto one of its wings, sword jabbed into it, so there's a little red blood coming down. And like as it slams to the ground, he gets thrown off. So he goes flying, sword in hand, like tumbles ass over tea kettle through several of the carts and like stands back up, shield gone, just the sword now, facing off against this giant goose who starts to just like circle around him with that, like goose just that like the cute ass little goose waddle that's like circling him.
I feel like Theodora is not surprised by any of this. It's just like, it went as I expected.
You see townsfolk scatter, screaming like, "No, a monster! And as the goose like lets out this horrible shrieking honk, you see several of the townsfolk like freeze and fall over catatonic as they are struck with the fear of its mighty hiss.
I forgot I could do that. We're gonna have to fix that.
And you see Demetrius like holds his hands to his ears like ah as it lets out that loud honk. And you are now face to face with this goose and Talia, who is like on its back. She's like at this point, she's crawled back onto its back. Her hair is fallen out of its bun, so it's just flowing, and she's just crying.
So it's the cover of a weird romance novel.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
when
just
they couldn't afford Fabio on a horse, so they got Talia on a goose.
Talia on a goose. Just this giant goose just destroying this town with this crying woman on its back. Who is like, if I can never know true love, then I will destroy this entire village.
Whenever Christos can make his dramatic entrance, because he's heard a goose land in the town, Fulham gonna like only wearing socks, sliding into the picture, just like the censor bar, and that's it.
Conveniently censored by like a vase in frame.
Yeah.
Like convenient censoring.
The censoring they do for pregnant actresses on comedies when they're not supposed to be pregnant in the show, just always
Where they just always have something in the way conveniently.
And he's just gonna go, goose. I guess that means neither of them are really that good at this. And
Ding, ding, ding.
I assume seeing Demetrius there, like panting out of breath, freaking out.
I mean, he's facing this goose, like he's ready to fight this goose.
I will go ahead and give him a D6 out of my hero pool.
Okay. Like, what are you doing to inspire him as a muse?
And at the same time, I want to grab just like a bowl of fruit that is conveniently placed directly in front of my crotch for cover, and pick up said bowl of fruit, lift the camera frame up with it, dump out all the fruit in front of me, and then throw the bowl at him. But mid-air, it's going to transform into like this badass Grecian helmet.
Okay, so you spin it, you throw it, and in midair it transforms into this awesome like hoplite helmet that actually bears the crested insignia of Athena. He snatches it in the midair and slams it on as like he's filled with this heroic aura, and you see like several of the townsfolk who are in the middle of running away are like, "Oh, Demetrius!" Like.
So then I give him a D8 asset and my D6 hero dice.
Okay, so he's picking up a D6 and a D8, which means you made his pool significantly bigger with the fact that he also has the sword. So he is gonna just charge on head. Oh no, he goes second because it's a contest, so he's starting it, so he would go first.
I have something I want to do, but I think I'm gonna jump in at a later point to see if he's doing okay.
He's gonna he's gonna come up with a 14, and the goose is gonna roll against him. And gets a 10 and gets 2 1s. If anyone wants to...
We have to use plot points to buy those?
Yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will spend a plot point to buy a hitch.
Okay, so what are you going to do with that hitch?
With that hitch, I want to... The fruit that I spilled out in front of me, I want to grab a banana from it and throw it under the goose's foot.
So you created a complication on the scene, which is slapstick comedy. I will allow it. And the goose does lose this roll anyways, like doesn't roll high enough to win. So he attacks the goose and starts pushing it back, and the goose actually takes like will take a D8 of infirmity. As it is like he's like fighting back against the goose and like pushing it back and slowly away from some of the villagers. And you can see that Talia's on its back, like just losing it. Just like completely distraught, where she's like, I love you, but I must destroy this village for what they've done to my family.
Wasn't exactly what I meant to happen for her,
She's
but
going there with it, isn't she? Good thing
Yeah.
you didn't pick her.
He's
I
not.
was going back and forth. She had my vote for a little
I had
while.
unfortunately settled on it being Demetrius as much as it upset me.
All right, so he's gonna roll again, and he's got the help from your thing. So that is, yeah, that's very good. And he's gonna burn he's gonna burn his last plot point, and he's gonna end up with a 5. This would be. It's gonna be a 17. And the goose is gonna try to roll against him. Ooh, super close. It's a 13. So the goose does not beat him in the competition. So in this instance, he manages to attack the goose and drives the sword straight into the goose's chest after this epic battle scene where they like destroy maybe like a third of the marketplace. Luckily, most of it's just like hastily built stands and awnings. So there's just a lot of like loose fruit and random produce getting thrown around. There's definitely a merchant from out of town who's like, no, my stall.
My cabbages!
My cabbages! Curse you, goose! But he manages to pierce the heart of the goose, and he takes down the goose of the gander of Oropos. Is defeated as he's heroically helmet on, sword in its breast, like definitely her, and she falls from its back and like lands onto the ground. And she's like, how could you do this to me? I thought I loved you, and you've broken my heart.
I feel like Christos is just gonna walk over and like be standing over here, weird camera angle, so you can't see anything, and just like take a bite out of a peach or something, and be like, oh. I mean, he's not the hero I would have picked, but apparently you weren't really that good either.
And then she just like collapses unconscious.
Is this when the rest of us dramatically show up?
Yeah, you show up. Everyone else comes running into the scene as you see the goose like give one last like sad like ah.
What I would have said is before we left, Antigone would have unclipped their skirt, revealing that she's actually wearing a leotard with like a piece of fabric wrapped around it as a skirt, and put all the eggs into it in like a bundle over their shoulder. So Antigone just shows up, just white leotard leg and a bundle of eggs.
Perfect.
What's on the menu?
I feel like Christos is gonna like look around and be like, where's Zephos? Like, he needs to clean this up. We should have a feast. Goose. Eggs. Breakfast. Let's go.
As you say that, he shows up and is like, what did you do to the marketplace? This place is destroyed. And then like several of the villagers are like, it was Demetrius. He saved us from the gander of Oropos. He was so heroic. Did you see that magical helmet that he was wearing and his sword? That's the sword of the hero.
Theodora like rolls her eyes, but she knows that like we got the job done. But like, of course, it was him.
Antigone's gonna settle up and be, Christos, why aren't you wearing any clothes?
I mean, they get in the way.
And Antigone's gonna unfold the skirt and wrap it around you, forgetting that it's full of eggs, and so now there's just a bunch of broken eggs.
The eggs are actually tough enough that when they fall to the ground, they just kind of clunk there, but they don't break. Because each egg is about that big.
So here's what I'm thinking. We each hatch an egg, and then it imprints on us, and then we have a goose monster to ride around and cause terror.
I mean, that would be some pretty epic heralding to just like show up on a giant goose.
We should probably break them, though.
And as was shown, you can fit 2 people on a goose. One in its mouth, one in its body.
Insert joke about fitting things in mouths, and then Christos is gonna walk off, and we get.
Oh yeah, Talia, did she survive?
Yeah, she's alive. She's just unconscious.
Are you looking for the demon?
Oh good, she
From
made
heartbreak. It. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't her. She tried to steal the sword and run.
I took care of it.
Yeah, good job, Nico.
Did you?
Well, she didn't make it away.
And you say that, and as you turn, she's gone.
Damn it.
Ah.
God's damn it.
I mean, okay, sure, I didn't do anything. Fuck my drag.
Well, I mean, I'm the one who gave him the helmet and like was here when he killed the goose. So like the bonus is mine when we get home. The bonus, it's mine.
I made sure that 5 more geese don't come back in about a month. And Tiggity points to all the eggs on the ground that she still has not picked up.
I think Kara will be happy to take these as proof that we took care of things here. And I'm sure she'll be excited to know that the Erebos has its own hero now.
Nico's going to start singing a song about Demetrius and playing his lyre.
Okay. Is there anything else anyone would like to do as we wrap up the adventure of the Gander of Oropos?
No, I'm done with this town. Like Theodore just wants to be back in Athens. Like, I don't want to deal with this.
See,
shit
I would
anymore.
try to heal the townsfolk, but I'm out of plot points, and so I can't catharsize them.
Same here. I was gonna try and heal Talia's woe, but I'm out of plot points.
And she ran away.
She
And she ran
dramatically escaped to return as
Other
the villain in
day.
the sequel.
Well, because Natalia was actually her last name. Her first name was Amber.
And she's
I
not a
almost-
hunter, she's an apple farmer.
I almost named her Amber, but then I was like, that would be too obvious.
yeah. I would have. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you everybody who joined us for our little romp in the world of Proclaimers of Heroes. Helped us playtest, get a few, kick the tires on seeing if there's some things we want to change about our very own hack homebrew. I will say I enjoyed very much playing Cortex. It's a fun game. It's different. I'm definitely learning a lot about tempo. I feel like without a lot of the tropes of D&D, it really demands that you as a narrator and storyteller know where you want to go and how you're going to involve your players kind of like at every beat. And I feel like Tales of Sadie, I did a better job of that. This time around, I felt like I had a harder time dictating the pace.
Well, that makes sense, because Tales of Zadia was pre-written by people who, to be fair, know the system better than we do, so...
Yeah, the places where I made changes to Tales of Zadia, it was always me being like, I don't like this version as much, I'm going to change it to something else. So I was always constantly like, I had something to work off of.
Yeah, whereas this, it was just, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I feel like I could have better... I will say, like, if anyone else wants to is running Cortex stuff, that would be my feedback as a narrator. If you're trying to go off of not having a core story, really knowing all the notes you want to hit, especially how you're going to engage the party, is really helpful. I did not do what they did in theirs, where they gave, like, here's 3 different threads that you can very clearly follow. I was more organic, and I really wish I had set up threads.
I mean, I had fun. The biggest thing for me was, how do I play a character who still does things but is passive in the story? Like, it's a weird balance.
I may not have thought that one through totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, we should have just said, okay, one of you go to the temple and find the sword and come back. But that wouldn't have been fun for us as players or people to watch. So I was just like, no, I'm going to go with them, see what happens.
Also, if we had sent just Talia, we would have never seen her again, maybe.
Oh, you would have definitely seen her again. It just would have been on her.
And let's be honest, before that trip, we were going to pick Talia.
Yeah.
The more you know, apparently.
I was
Trick us
thinking-
in, and you used our desire to pick a disenfranchised woman against us.
I was gonna shapeshift in the middle of the night and go see her as her lost brother.
Ooh, that would have been good.
But instead we just
That would have been good.
stuff, and I was like, I can find out her motivations.
I was kind of wondering if she was going to end up being like a descendant of a Gorgon or like Medusa.
Ah.
Because like she had
Okay.
the Medusa thing. There were Pegasuses flying around, and didn't Pegasus like come out of Medusa's body once her head was
Mhm.
chopped off? Things were petrified. I was like, what if she's related to Medusa?
I did make the gander related to the Gorgons.
Oh, so I had the wrong target with that.
Fair. There's a lot of, for me as a narrator, I wanted to run this adventure to learn a lot, and I've learned a lot about the system. Like, first run through, honest, like, I did not give it the full credit of needing that much backbone, because I'm used to being able to play D&D with a lot less of a narrative, like, beat by beat. Like, I could know where I'm going in D&D, and D&D provides a lot of the naturally, with all the mechanics, provides a skeleton of what's happening. Like, oh, you're going to fight this goose? Like, done. That goose has stats, it has an AC, it has a battle map that I've made already.
Yeah, that's half the session, just fighting the goose because of all the mechanics.
But in this, I was like, oh, no, the goose is literally just supporting Demetrius. I'm realizing that was the weakness in my design, too, when it came down to it. It's like, you have to watch him fight the goose. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, this kind of takes the biggest action piece, doesn't involve the party as much as I would like.
Yeah, if there was some...
Shot her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for Proclaimers of Heroes, if we do play it again, the trick is not going to be so much like telling a typical story of like, go do the thing. It's got to be more, what wacky hijinks do we get into in pursuit of getting the hero to do the thing?
That means that I need to give you a hero that has more obvious like danger that they're in, that you solve behind, like, off screen.
Or we needed to do a whole wacky montage of like trials to decide who it was, and that needed to be the thing rather than fighting the goose.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of opportunity to do better next time.
I still think we found like some really fun moments, and I felt like we understood the assignment. Yeah, we understood the assignment and had fun with it, definitely.
I was going to say, it was our second time playing a game set in the Cortex universe, and our first time playing a hack that I built for the first time using the rules. So I'm just using it as a great like learning opportunity. I would say, does anyone have any like wishes or stars that they can think of? Wishes being things you really liked.
I think, again, to like reiterate, so if the goal of our hack is that we're the behind-the-scenes characters, that means the story needs to focus on the behind-the-scenes things. Because, like, in most adventures that we play, you know, the big climactic fight is the big climactic fight, but in this, like, the big climactic thing is, you know, oh, in the middle of the fight he trips and falls, how do we get him up and distract or something? Like, it's just a very small, minuscule part of that, and the bulk of this is training montage and, you know, cathartic release with dead parent visages and, you know, dating woes, and he's too busy worrying about who he's trying to fuck instead of, you know, who he's trying to fight. So, but I enjoyed this. It was fun.
I think too. I was just gonna say, I think in this second session, we as players felt a little more comfortable and like leaned into using our characters in the story more, and that definitely benefited us. You know, we were able to kind of create moments within the story where we did those fun things, and so yeah, if we come back to this, I think we'd have that hurdle kind of already overcome and be more ready to like jump in and grab the moments where they pop up.
Yeah, and I think playing these last two sessions, like, there are things now that I would have not done when I was building Theodora. Like, I think I would have, because I made her like so heavy on like social and interaction with people that like outside of like trying to negotiate something or get some info or like something, like I didn't have anything I could really do to help a hero. So I think like keeping that in mind, if we ever come back, maybe like tweaking her, because like she's kind of useless in most, like, I'm good at helping us maybe find the hero, and then I'm kind of like, peace, I'm done. I did my part.
I mean, that's a good challenge for me as the DM, as the narrator, though, too, is to think, like, if I have a character that's more like that, how do I make more of the behind-the-scenes stuff, like, narratively important for you? Like, oh, we want to take Demetrius out into the woods to find this temple. Well, Xephos isn't going to let him go. Like, then you have to negotiate with Xephos how to get him out of his job. Like, I already, like, literally being at the end of this, I could look back and be like, I would do this differently, I would do this differently, this would make the narrative tighter. And it's a lot of it is about, like, serving up better moments, because I feel like Chase's character did really good in this one. because Chase really found moments to be like, I'm gonna walk out, be ridiculous, and then like throw a banana peel on the ground.
Yeah, like Chase killed it in this fight of like, how do you be in the background and not take over while still affecting it?
Yeah, and so like that to me is, there's got to be more moments where I think this is your skill set, this is your lane. How do I make your lane really be present? I think to like Tales of Xadia, where like Jason's Vinaya did really good because she was talking to this guy who also shared this like historical feeling. Joey's character linked up with Feathershaw and really convinced Feathershaw to change their characteristics. And then the rest of you worked with the villagers to build the hang gliders, and that's all those things hit on really good notes. So they all flowed together really well. And then the fighters got to fight the giant centipede. So like it naturally all built to these moments, and I feel like this one I could use more. I could have built clearer moments where everyone could have connected.
I think too, we also in character building, we're still character building while you were adventure building, and so now our characters better and could tailor things to our characters better as well.
I think it's like when we build our Scion characters, we all kind of like dug into it and kind of did our best guesses, but until you play a session or two, you never quite realize exactly like what you need for a good party composition, what you need to not feel left out. And so like this was our first session of Proclaimers of Heroes. It took us a session to feel out what you need, what works well, what doesn't.
Yeah, because we sort of need to remember, like, yes, this is still Cortex, but this is a brand new game no one's ever played before. Like, there was no way we were going to go into this having like the perfect like build up no one had ever played. Like, we didn't know what we needed.
Yeah, and it was very ambitious of me to think like, ooh, I know what I want to do. I want to do the people behind the scenes, because like I've read books and narratives that do things like that, but I feel like they also do a really good job of highlighting that moment that is like, you have to let the baby bird fly from the nest. You have to get the satisfaction of being like, we did that. And this one, I felt like that was the thing I was struggling with, was like, how do I get them to the moment where like it doesn't feel like you're getting left out of the fight? It feels like you've set this fight up exactly the way it was supposed to go down.
I think my, not like advice, but my feedback on that would be like, instead of pitting us with two different heroes to pick from, give us a hero who just needs more work to get from being a 3 to a 7.
Or if we're going to do pit the heroes against each other, like, because the problem with Talia was,
give us something to build.
Yeah, they were too similar that there was no way to pick who was going to be who other than flip a coin. Until we got to the temple and realized when it was too late.
I mean, I picked Demetrius before we even met Talia.
That is correct. Christos did have that certain feeling.
Christos MVP, we get it.
I think everyone did really great. I really appreciate you all having the flexibility of us trying something this different.
I drove 2 people insane. I did my job.
Yeah,
I also drove someone insane, I think.
I mean, filled her with woe.
We fucked her up.
Yeah.
And paranoia.
That's not what I intended on doing.
You made her fall in love. I had to make it Greek tragedy appropriate.
You made her fall in love with the hero of the town she's trying to destroy.
Yeah.
Like, talk about, dramatic irony.
But she was in love.
But also now she has like a lifelong arch enemy.
Yeah. So you wrapped it up in a nice little bow. I'm happy.
I mean, it's very Greek tragedy appropriate that she's just left, and the hero that defeated her is also the man that she's in love with now.
Oh yeah. We're setting up plot lines here, potentially.
All right, well, everyone who watched and joined us this evening, thank you very much for taking part in our adventures. We are taking a little break from our Proclaimers of Heroes. We're going to be figuring out which game we're going to do next. If you have any suggestions or games you'd really love to see somebody else stumble through learning how to play them for the first time, definitely drop us some comments on our Twitter, or feel free to DM us there and let us know. We're always looking for new systems. We have a list of our own that we're going through, but like, I love to hear what other people are curious about and what they're interested in seeing. So Thank you for joining us on our adventures. If you enjoyed, feel free to give us a follow so you'll be up to date on what we do next, what we tackle next, or join us on this Sunday at 7:30 for our D&D campaign as we head back into the Fey Barrow and find out what is going on with those cute little mushroom people and the gigantic Udiuk that just attacked the party.
I forgot about the mushrooms.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and stay safe out there.